However, now Bob Iger took action against Pedro in the most unexpected way possible, where he canceled an entire featurette for Fantastic Four that was filmed.
The upcoming Superman film, Superman himself has managed to take some shots at Fantastic Four first steps. Yup, he's making fun of Fantastic Four. That's what I'm going to put in the headline, because that's what all the articles are saying, because they need to manufacture, I guess, a rivalry.
What led the Disney company to engage in an emergency meeting to cancel multiple events for Pedro Pascal to drastically reduce his presence on television and on the internet. Now, in a very similar way, ironically to what happened with Rachel Zegler,
rumors are exploding that Pedro Pascal may have just been fired by Disney CEO Bob Iger after a full-blown meltdown on the set of Fantastic Four. Say what? Yep, insiders claim tensions hit a boiling point, with politics, power struggles, and PR nightmares all colliding. Did Pedro push too far? Did Disney pull the plug to save Marvel's biggest reboot yet? Buckle up, this drama goes way deeper than anyone expected. And what's going on at Marvel that has fans either bracing for disaster or clinging to hope? Let's unravel this Hollywood tornado.
Now, this entire change resulted in Pedro getting involved in multiple very intense arguments with Kevin Feige after Feige agreed with Bob Iger to delete and scrap this entire scene and to lock it up in a vault. It turns out that Pedro was so offended by the scene getting scrapped that his behavior toward Feige turned back to Bob Iger.
Marvel's upcoming Fantastic Four reboot was supposed to be the studio's return to glory. After a series of box office fumbles and lukewarm fan reactions, this film was hyped as the cornerstone of Marvel's Phase 6. Cast Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards? Boom. Star power. Add Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, Ebon Moss-Backrack as The Thing, and Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm? Slam dunk, right? Wrong. From the very beginning, things behind the scenes have been, well, less than fantastic. The production was riddled with delays, including script rewrites, test screening disasters, and a grueling post-production crunch that sent Marvel Studios into panic mode. But the tipping point? Pedro Pascal. Fans started raising eyebrows when Pedro, during early interviews promoting Fantastic Four, went full political.
Now, one thing for sure is that Pedro Pascal and his politics, they are only making matters worse for the Fantastic Four, but it's not just that. It's the fact that they are indeed shifting away from source material. Pedro confirmed this. We know that, of course, Joseph Quinn talked about this as well, about how they will be changing Johnny Storm to be far less than how he was in the comics, far less than how Chris Evans portrayed the character in 2005-2007.
Instead of hyping his role as the brilliant leader of Marvel's first family, Pedro used the spotlight to voice strong personal and political views, climate change, gender politics, immigration reform. Now, we're not saying celebrities can't have opinions, of course they can, but here's the issue. Marvel is trying to market a popcorn blockbuster, not a campaign ad. So when Pedro started dropping hot takes mid-interview, Disney got nervous. And fans? They noticed. Twitter blew up with clips and memes dubbing him Pedro Zegler, a not-so-subtle reference to Snow White star Rachel Zegler, who caught similar backlash for going political during her own movie promo run. Sound familiar? Yeah. Deja vu with a twist of deja oops. According to inside sources, yes, we're talking whispers from Disney HQ. Bob Iger and top execs were not thrilled.
So offended by the scene getting scrapped that his behavior toward Feige turned back to Bob Iger, where Bob Iger is now having issues with Pedro Pascal. Just days ago, they already punished Pascal by reducing his press tour appearances and urging him to stop and cut it out with his politics. However, now Bob Iger took action against Pedro in the most unexpected way possible, where he canceled an entire featurette for Fantastic Four that was filmed, focusing strictly on Pedro as Reed Richards.
In fact, emergency meetings were called. Apparently, a decision was made to cut short Pedro Pascal's press run. Boom. TV spots cancelled. Late night interviews axed. This wasn't just some PR reshuffle. This was Disney hitting the panic button, and it didn't stop there. Reshoots were rushed, scripts were altered. The studio allegedly began trimming down what they called overt gender politics in the film. And according to leaked emails, cue dramatic music. They wanted to neutralize messaging to maximize global appeal. Translation? Tone it down before the movie tanks. What started as subtle tension behind the scenes of Fantastic Four quickly escalated into a full-blown standoff, one that insiders are now calling the on-set showdown. According to multiple sources, things hit a boiling point when Pedro Pascal, cast as Reed Richards aka Mr. Fantastic, clashed with Marvel Studios execs during a pivotal moment in the film's marketing phase. Pedro, known for his fiery political passion and unwillingness to sugarcoat his views, reportedly refused to follow the PR script Disney laid out. During internal meetings, when told to keep politics out of press appearances, he allegedly snapped back with, "It's a free country, I'll say what I want." That remark wasn't just bold, it shook the room.
Now, Pedro recently delivered the following in a very defensive way that made things worse. "I would definitely say that I'm a proud male feminist, activist, and one that defends LGBTQ rights, and most certainly diversity, equity, and inclusion. And like all of those important things that belong to stay in this industry."
Disney CEO Bob Iger, who's already navigating Marvel's shaky post-Endgame phase, was not amused. This wasn't just about one actor sounding off, it was about preserving the entire Fantastic Four reboot, a project that Marvel is banking on to restore its box office dominance. Reshoots were underway, test screenings were ongoing, stakes through the roof. Then came the ultimate power move. Pedro's media tour was sliced in half. Cancelled interviews, pulled TV appearances, his scheduled late-night slots gone. Insiders claim Bob Iger personally signed off on the cutbacks, echoing the same pattern seen with Snow White's Rachel Zegler just months prior. It was like deja vu in a designer suit. And Pedro? He didn't back down. If anything, he doubled down. While fans were still digesting the gender-swapped Silver Surfer and rumors about Sue Storm taking a more central leadership role, Pascal's refusal to stay quiet only poured gasoline on an already sensitive fire. Whether you call it bravery or recklessness, this on-set showdown revealed a brewing civil war between talent and studio, a war that's playing out in real time, just weeks before release day. Just when Disney hoped things would settle, another surprise twist dropped, and this one came from inside the house. Joseph Quinn, who's playing the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, decided he wasn't going to stay neutral. Nope. In fact, Quinn publicly and unapologetically took Pedro Pascal's side. Now, let's be clear, Joseph Quinn is no stranger to fan hype. After his meteoric rise as Eddie Munson in Stranger Things, he quickly became a fan favorite with Gen Z and millennial audiences alike. So when Fantastic Four scooped him up, many thought Marvel had secured another breakout star. But few expected him to step into a PR minefield before the movie even dropped. In recent press clips, Quinn openly defended Pedro, echoing the sentiment that actors should be free to speak their minds, even when it ruffles corporate feathers. But that wasn't all. He also made headlines by confirming a major character overhaul. Johnny Storm, once the flashy, flirty, overconfident ladies' man of the Fantastic Four, was being rewritten. The new version, toned down, more grounded, less 2005 bad boy, and more sensitive millennial firestarter. This, understandably, sent purist fans into meltdown mode. The 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four films may not have been masterpieces, but Chris Evans' take on Johnny Storm brought charisma, confidence, and edge. Quinn's version? According to leaks, it dials back all of that. By backing Pascal and defending the reimagined Johnny Storm, Joseph Quinn threw himself into the storm, no pun intended. The fandom's response has been mixed. Some applaud the maturity and evolution of the character. Others see it as yet another example of Marvel trying to sanitize its iconic heroes to avoid backlash, only to stir up more of it. The most ironic twist? Pedro and Joseph, on-screen teammates, are now off-screen revolutionaries, pushing back against studio mandates, embracing bold takes, and refusing to play the traditional Hollywood PR game. And Disney? Well, they've got a full-fledged PR wildfire on their hands. While Marvel is busy putting out fires, DC is pouring gasoline on its own hype train, and this time, they might actually have the upper hand. With James Gunn's Superman officially wrapped and reportedly locked in for a polished 2025 release, the tables are starting to turn in the superhero showdown. Let's be honest, it's been a rough few years for both comic book giants. Marvel's Phase 4 and 5 have felt directionless to many fans, with hits like Spider-Man, No Way Home being the exception, not the norm. Meanwhile, DC stumbled through failed launches, The Flash, Anyone, and creative overhauls. But Gunn's Superman is emerging as a potential game-changer, finished ahead of schedule, building buzz, and free of the political storm currently surrounding Fantastic Four. And that contrast? It's not lost on fans, or industry insiders. With Fantastic Four still undergoing reshoots just weeks before its July 25th release, questions are flying. How can Marvel expect a flawless final product when they're still tweaking dialogue, adjusting character arcs, and reshooting major scenes under the gun? Even Marvel chief Kevin Feige reportedly signed off on downplaying the gender politics angle in the film, an unusual move that signals real concern. You don't backpedal unless you feel the pressure. And that pressure? It's coming from fans, critics, and now the competition. Because while Marvel is scrambling to find its post-Avengers footing, DC is staging its comeback, clean, controlled, and confident. With Ironheart dropping just a month before Fantastic Four, potentially stirring even more culture war discourse, Marvel is walking a tightrope, while DC is strutting down the red carpet. One studio's trying to hold the line, the other is moving the goalposts. Now, does this mean Fantastic Four is doomed? Not necessarily. The brand is iconic, the cast is stacked, and if Disney manages to pull off a last-minute miracle, it could still become a turning point. But let's face it, right now, all eyes are on whether Pedro's fallout will derail the entire campaign. And if DC's Superman flies higher while Fantastic Four burns under its own flame, the future of the MCU could look a whole lot different than what anyone expected just a year ago. Oh, and remember Rachel Zegler, the Disney darling turned media magnet turned controversy machine? Well, Pedro Pascal has been a vocal supporter of hers for months. He's even quoted as saying she was unfairly targeted and stood for what matters. That defense didn't go unnoticed. Disney execs reportedly brought her up during talks with Pedro, warning him not to repeat the same mistakes. Clearly, the warning didn't stick. Now it seems Disney is deploying the same strategy they used with Zegler: silence, fewer appearances, controlled messaging, and maybe, just maybe, a contract review. Here's the ticking time bomb. Pedro Pascal's deal with Disney is reportedly one of the most expensive single-actor contracts in Marvel history. Insiders say it's loaded with performance clauses, PR behavior clauses, and appearance minimums. So if Pedro is suddenly getting benched, is Disney looking for a loophole? Some sources say yes. There's chatter that if Fantastic Four underperforms, the studio might invoke a behavior clause to sever ties. That would mean no sequels, no crossovers, no secret wars for Pedro. Let's step back. This isn't just about one actor or one movie. Marvel is at a crossroads. Phase 4 and 5 were criticized for being directionless. Now Phase 6 hinges on Fantastic Four being a hit. And it's not just about box office. It's about culture, identity, tone. Can Marvel stay relevant in a post-Endgame world without alienating half its audience? That question is playing out in real time. And Pedro Pascal? He's right at the center of the storm. Outro. So, was Pedro Pascal fired by Bob Iger? Officially? Not yet. But is his star in the Marvel Cinematic Universe dimming fast? Oh yeah. With mounting pressure, behind-the-scenes clashes, and a rapidly changing media narrative, this Fantastic Four reboot might just be Marvel's most chaotic project yet. What do you think? Should Disney rein Pedro in, or is he right to speak his mind? Will this reboot crash and burn or rise from the ashes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you loved this juicy breakdown, smash that like button, share it with your fellow Marvel fans, and subscribe for more Hollywood tea. Until next time, stay fantastic.